Okay. We should have sound because I see the doodad doing sound, right? That's how it's supposed to work, right? I don't know. Okay, where's my phone? Gotta do the thing that I've always gotta do. Because Facebook is dumb. Okay, that should be working. I don't know. Hey, Jeff. I'll see at least somebody. All righty. Um, Hang on. I've been telling myself I was going to cut OBS out of the mix, but I just haven't had time to dick with that. Um, so, next time. Actually, that's not true. It would probably be after the IBA conference, and then I can focus on this stuff. I've just got too much going on right now. I had my hammer in over the weekend, which went really well. I think officially we had like 28 sign-ins, actually 28, 30 some odd sign-ins, but we're certain that there were several people that did not sign in. You know who you are, Kurt. We won't say any names, but we know you were amongst that crowd. But there were several people we know that didn't sign up. So we're thinking the total number of people that showed up for my hammer in this year was probably closer to 40 some odd folk, 40, 45, somewhere in there. And not, I don't know for certain, but I do know I think 30, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32. So probably 32 official signups. I think there were 4 on one sheet, and we'd filled 2 sheets, and the sheets that I use take 14 people. I don't know why I did it that way. Next year I think I'm going to do different, but whatever. So anyways, 40-ish people. Had a really good crowd. Charlie Ellis demonstrated for us, and he demonstrated a forged leaf belt buckle using 3/4 inch round, I believe, and mostly did the work on the press, but you can do it easily by hand. It's not that big a deal, says the guy that's standing here looking at that piece. But yeah, you can definitely. I was actually using this piece. I found it on the floor, and then I started a calla lily with it, which I'm not going to work on tonight. I might, but so I'm friends with Ellen Durkin on the internet, and she uses a lot of calla lilies in a lot of her sculptures and her work. And I noticed they look significantly different than how I was shown how to do it. So I'd asked her, hey, how do you do yours? And so she sent or took pictures of her notes. And I don't know if it's for her class or a class she took. I don't know. But I'm going to credit Ellen. But she had sent me some notes. What I've started here is slightly different from those notes, simply because I'm using round bar is the main difference. But I just wanted to play with it and see, what the how that comes out. So the way I've typically done it, it's the same but different, right? So there's a million ways to do it. I just thought I would give it a try. So I'll probably work on that later. Not tonight, but at some other point. I don't know. Who knows? I'm not gonna say I won't. 10 o'clock will roll around and I'll be like, shh, I know what I'm doing. Let me clear my little forging area up out of the way before I get going. I gotta key my anvil in as well. And I've made some new keys. I've been working on making myself a little cave. I'm not much, I refer to those folks cave dwellers because I typically don't do this, but I figured I would go ahead and do that. So you'll see, I don't know if you can see, it's a 1-inch square bar. I think it's 1 inch. About 1 inch, might be, yeah, I'm pretty sure it's 1 inch. 1 inch square bar that I just rammed in there and then covered it up, which will give me, you know, a little cave in there. I learned this off the internet watching an old video, I think it was a silent video actually, of some guys working in Germany. I suspect it was Germany. They were working what appeared to be a wrought iron refinery. So what they were doing were taking slabs of wrought iron and then they were forging them down and then it looked like they were folding it over onto itself and then reforging it and then creating these big square billets out of it. So what they did is they took a big square billet and they crammed it in there and then just shoveled coal on top of that thing and then lit their forge and then walked off. And then they came back whatever time later and they had a nice big hole in there to work from. And I was like, oh, that's a pretty neat idea. So it's kind of what I'm doing here, just on a much smaller scale. So I figured, you know, I've done it before and it's fine. My problem is I get to a point where I'm just like, I'm not interested in maintaining that cave. I'm more of a, keep my fire pot, you know, somewhat level so I can see it. And then I will put material on it and then cover that with Coke or whatever. And then work from there and try to keep my work mostly covered depending on what I'm working on and what I'm doing. But I like to be able to see what's going on. So I'm just going to rotate this bar in here. And when I'm going to slide this out, ooh, that's a little warm. Right here it's warm. Tell you it's chilly today, so I ain't complaining. Let me get this coal off of this bar. Yeah, I got a little cave right there. So let me go put this down. I was going to use my quote-unquote main forge today, but then I got to looking at my striking anvil. Is currently the Leaning Tower of Pisa, and it needs to be leveled out, and I wasn't in the mood to mess with that today. I'm eventually going to pull that striking anvil off. I've got another one I want to replace it with, my main striking anvil, which is 2 1/4 inch thick versus 2, so it's just a little extra height. So I want to swap them out, but I'm going to dig a hole for that one and pour a pad for it. This one has a pad about, oh, I don't know. I don't know that it's quite 18 inches, but it's close to 18 inches. I can't remember, but about 18 inches thick. So it's a hell of a pad, and I love having that pad under that striking anvil. I felt the difference immediately. Hey, Antonio, Ken, Zach.com, what up? Sorry, I didn't have it on the right screen. I need to key this anvil in before I can actually do anything. So one of the things, before I get, because what time is it? 8 o'clock yet? So hey Steve, I wanted to start a little earlier to give people an opportunity to jump in, let me ramble while it's not actually stream time, technically. But none of that will matter if I don't have an anvil to work from. So I need to key this anvil in, and it would appear, I love So if you're ever in my shop, these do not go on a normal tong rack because they will splay open really wide and people will run into them. So on my TV tray, I have these little squares that I drop these into. So here's a key and here's a key. I don't know how many keys I will need. And there's my spacer that really needs work. I need to redo that spacer, to be honest. Or make a bigger key, which is more than likely what I will do. But I can't key this anvil in until I find the hardy stem for it. So this is the thing, right? So let's get into, and I was going to bring this up anyways, because I have noticed this is an issue no matter what, and I get it, it's just going to happen, and I'm not like mad or anything. It just is what it is. But if you go into somebody else's shop, or you take something from somebody else's station, you should always make it a point to put those tools back from where you got them. Typically, whomever was using it, or whoever set up that station, that they have things kind of where they want them, especially some guys that I know. Brian Brazil, for instance, is very, very specific where he put things. He wants them put back in the same place. I'm not as specific, but in the general area you got it from would be kind of nice. Like right now, I'm looking for a hardy tool or a hardy stem for my anvil, and it was sitting here, right up here. It is no longer here. My driver is here. This is what I use to drive the key out of that tool. That is here. My keys are up here. So I'm going to look where I picked up the anvil. It is not there, which tells me somebody likely grabbed that one and used it on, they used it on a different anvil, which is fine. That's why we call this a universal hardy stem. So I'm okay with that, but boy, I don't know what they did here. But it's in there pretty good right now, so let's knock that out. I gotta go off screen to do, I've been off screen, but let me come off screen to take care of this. There's that. And then there's that. Okay, so I'm doing something, and I'm doing it off screen, that I normally do not advocate that you do. Do not lay big, heavy objects elevated, because it would not take much for somebody to run into that, knock it off, and seriously hurt themselves. So I'm going to turn this down to about, 25. And I'm going to knock some of this coke down into this fire, because I haven't really been monitoring it. Like I said, I just can't. The cave thing, some guys will lovingly take care of their cave. I just don't. I don't, man. I don't. Hey, Joey. I would never, I do not advocate holding a punch or a drift while somebody else is hitting it, unless it's a top tool with a handle on it. But if you were just holding it like this, oh hell no. That's called double jack, by the way. The double jack, there's a whole contest for that, and I've watched dudes break their arms and all kinds of crazy, their hands, and hell no. I know some guys that do it. I do not advocate that at all. Now, if you're holding a top tool, handled top tool, that's a different story. I mean, it still can be scary if you're not familiar with it and not something that you do very often. You know, you're typically, when you're coming out of the fire, you're going to be On this side, I'm holding this all wrong, but your striker should be over here, and you're going to present, boom, right? Get your head out of the way. That's how we do it typically. But yeah. I mean, I've seen, however, I'm not suggesting that's what you're doing, but in case you were, I have seen guys hold drifts while another dude hits it with a sledgehammer. No, don't do that. Don't do that. Swing your fucking hammer like a goddamn ape, and you ain't got to do that. Get a bigger hammer. At least a 4.5-pound hammer, or a 5.5-pound hammer, or an 8-pound hammer, or a miniature sledge that you can manage yourself. Don't have other people swinging a sledgehammer at a drift. Jesus Christ. Don't do that. That is very, very dangerous and a very fast way to get yourself hurt or somebody else get hurt. Don't recommend. I don't care how accurate you think you are. Everybody misses at some point in time. It's gonna happen. Everybody misses at some point in time. It's just something that you should expect to happen. So why you would sit there, I've seen guys do it. Guys I know, I'm friends with these guys, but those guys know damn well my shop, we ain't doing that shit. You want to do that craziness in your shop, that shit, that's all on you, but I'm not going to participate. 18-inch, 2-foot punch, no handle. Yeah, fuck that, dude. That is unsafe. That is unsafe. And whoever they were really should not be doing that. It's a good way for somebody to get hurt. I'm sorry, I don't want to be like a safety Nancy, but I mean, just think about that. What would happen? I don't know how those guys swing sledgehammers, but I can guarantee you if I'm swinging that sledgehammer, I'm coming down with some force. And it doesn't matter if it's an 8-pound hammer or a 14-pound hammer. If I hit you, whatever I hit is broken. Broken. I will destroy any part of your flesh if it makes contact with my sledgehammer. Guaranteed. The only time that wouldn't be true is if I'm doing this. And if you're doing that, just grab a goddamn hammer. But I've seen guys struggle with this before driving a drift. It is tough. That's what I always tell people. The first time that you drive your drift is going to be the toughest time. The second time, it's going to be almost as hard to drive, but not as hard. But once you get past those first two heats, everything goes really simple from there. So if you're not getting that done in 2 heats, you're not swinging hard enough with your hammer. But yeah, and again, I don't mean to come off as a, well, I do, but you don't want to wear hearing protection, whatever, don't wear hearing protection. I don't. I'm already deaf, so it ain't going to be doing much for me. I'm already deaf. But you want to forge in shorts. I mean, it's not a great idea. I do it. When it gets hot out, man, damn straight I do it. But if you want to forge in shorts, I mean, that's entirely up to you. You should be aware that you're probably going to get some scale on your legs at some point. It's bound to happen. Happens to me all the time. Not all the time, but I mean, it happens enough times. But to me, that's a small price to pay. These are minor burns, unless it's big scale. If I'm doing something like that with big chunks of scale flying, yeah, I'll go put my bibs on or something. But for most general forging, shorts, whatever's fine. So I'm gonna. Oh. Still got a little bit. I'm starting to think this key ain't so bueno, but that's okay. It's driving further than normal. I don't know if this Hardy stem is a little longer than my others. If it becomes a problem, I'll drop this key out, or I'll pull this key out and switch to a different one. But yeah, guys, don't hold tools with your bare hands for other people to hit with a sledgehammer. Great way to get yourselves hurt. You thought it was odd too. I forged at Fort Boonesboro with a guy that forged barefoot. Is that the barefoot blacksmith guy? One guy had a leather kilt going on. I've seen a lot of guys forging kilts. It's whatever. I have a friend of mine that rocks them. I mean, between kilts and puffy shirts, seems to be a thing amongst the blacksmithing world. I'm not gonna knock it. You know, it's whatever gets your boat down river, I suppose. Shit, dudes used to forge naked, so. Something tells me you learn how to manage scale real quick, forging that way. Me, shorts, yeah, I'll do shorts. I try. And again, it typically depends on what I'm working on. So, smacking the Coke down into the fire pot, in case anybody's wondering why I'm doing that. When your pot starts to hollow out, you need to tap that down in there, tamp your mound down a little bit. Anytime you do that, by the way, I built mine up quite a bit. But typically, anytime that you tamp that down like that, you're knocking your Coke down, your mound will get shorter. You really should put more new coal up on top, because what you're trying to do is you're creating Coke to burn. You're not burning green coal. You shouldn't be. So anytime you tamp that down like that, put more back up on top. Just keep it slightly above. I've got mine up quite a bit right now, so I don't need to do that, but probably 3 or 4 more times, I probably should. My mound was tall enough that even when my fire was going, it wasn't burning up outside of where I had made it available to do that. So yeah, back to my other rant. When you come into somebody else's shop and you use tools, put the tools back where you got them. See, it seems simple enough, but it's amazing how many people don't. The other thing is it's probably a good, especially certain tools, it's probably a good idea, no matter what the tool is, but generally, ask. And in my shop, I don't mind that people, if I don't want using something, I put that thing away or I lock it out. Like my big 250, I didn't want just random people coming up and using it. So I locked it out. You couldn't fire it up until later. And there was somebody available to keep tabs on you. A 250-pound power hammer can kill you. It could kick something out of there and either kill you or somebody else if you're not careful. So just bear that in mind. A 70-pound power hammer could probably do the same, but more likely going to hurt like hell. If it kicks a billet out of your hand or a tool out of your hand, it will go and it will hit somebody with some serious force. So just bear those things in mind. Don't just, especially if you don't know how to use those machines correctly. Just because you saw an internet video of some dumbass doing it wrong doesn't mean you know how to do it. It just means you saw somebody doing it wrong. And likely you're going to do it wronger than them. you are likely to do it more incorrectly than they were doing it, because you don't even know. So just keep those things in mind. I'm all for letting people use some of those machines, but I would prefer to be there and help them. Not that that was a problem in this particular run. The biggest thing I've noticed is like there's just shit everywhere. The other thing is really, and this hammer in was actually, I would say, pretty good about this. Most folks pick their trash up and put it in a trash can or put it away somewhere, where it's supposed to go. Previous hammer-ins, that was not always the case. So I want to thank those people that, during lunch, threw their trash away. That was quite awesome of you. Another thing that we ran into, just because there's lunch available that you don't have to pay for does not mean that you need to pile your plate this high. There are other people here that would like to eat as well. We ran out of meat, and there were at least 20 hamburgers. Now, mind you, there were 40 people here. Let's just say 40-ish, right? There were at least 20 hamburgers, way more than that hot dogs, and I think at least 30 some odd, no, there was 10 packs when there was 3. So there were 30 brats available, and we ran out of meat. So, one, your plate doesn't need to be piled this high. I get it, but come on. There are other people, man. Just think about other people. If you want to eat some more, give it a few minutes and then roll back through the line in hopes, that somebody, other people had an opportunity. And then grab some left, whatever might be left. That's cool, that's whatever. But the other thing is, if you RSVP and let people that know that you're coming, I knew of 6 people. Definite, I knew 6 people were coming. I guessed how much meat to buy and how much meat to put on the grill. We actually had more meat, but I didn't want to cook meat up that we weren't going to use, so I didn't know. It would have RSVP. So if you're going to go to an event like that, let somebody know. It goes a long way to helping the planning of food and seating. The other thing was, oh no, I already mentioned that. People picked up their mess. Years past, that was not a thing. But this time, people picked their messes up. So kudos to them. But yeah, let folks know that you're coming so that they can, plan accordingly. I felt bad. I didn't know that we ran out until like later. Had I realized we'd run out, we could have cooked more stuff. My guess is the guys that were, helping out didn't know that there was more stuff to cook. They probably just assumed I gave them everything. Does that one farrier happen to look a little bit like Bubbles? If so, I know who you're talking about, or was it a different guy? But look at that guy. He's about that wide, and he ain't fat. Big dude. He's a big little dude. He's a little dude, but he's about this wide. I think he used to be a bodybuilder or something. I don't know. Nice enough dude, but yeah. And he ain't even the guy I saw. The 2 guys I saw looked like, they kind of look homeless. So I didn't say anything when I saw it. I was like, well, they probably need it. But yeah, there was like 2 guys that were working back here at one point. And it's whatever. But again, had I known, we probably could have taken care of that. I just felt bad that there was people that did not get any meat. So, my bad, but you can help me if you're coming to an event like this by letting me know you're coming. That was fully on me. But again, just let somebody know. it will go a long ways to helping get things, you know, properly supplied. What I always find impressive with a hammer, and at least for me, it's like a whirlwind, and once that starts, it's amazing how little free time I have to do something. I typically can't forge much until later in the evening when most people leave, but like from like say 9, actually more like 8, from 8 a.m. until about 4 o'clock, I am locked down, just running here and there. It's crazy. Other news, going to a hammer in. I've been at this part-time, 2.5 years, 60 event. I don't know what a 60 hour. I had nothing to do with any mower blades, Bill. It was not me. I didn't have time to stash one. I do have one. I don't know where it's at. I'll have to look around and see if it was that one or somebody else didn't hook you up. But as far as the Abana Level 1 cert, so are you planning to do the projects at the Hammer Inn? So is that something that they're offering people to do, to work on that while they're there? 60 hours? Yeah. Well, I mean, that depends on your skill level. But yeah, ultimately, yeah. I mean, there's a checklist of items. Some of those items, honestly, if you can forge those before your hammer in or whatever, would be a good idea. That'd be the tooling and stuff like that. Get that stuff ready so that you're able to take your tooling and then focus on the main project, which is the gate latch. But the gate latch itself is a relatively simple project. The hardest part of that project, and one, be ready to do it 2 or 3 times. Until you nail down, because there's no, depending on the radiuses and things like that, dimensions can change. So you really want to do test pieces and mark on the anvil where you did that, because like on my anvils, the radiuses on my anvils go from heavy radius to light radius as you move back towards the back of the anvil. So as you got sharper edges here, heavily radiused up here. I do all my anvils like that, and they're all a little different. My Holland anvil's got probably a 1/2 inch radius right up here, about a 2 inch, 1/2 inch radius up here, and then it tapers back from there. Mostly because when I do heavy forging, this is about where I do it. So I want a heavy radius there. But so you want to do test pieces and keep notes in your measurements and mark the anvil where you did it. Use a piece of soapstone or something. So that way you remember, because it won't change that much, but it will change enough that it can cause you issues. But honestly, at least from what I have seen thus far, the requirements for the Abana cert, level 1 cert, are relatively low key. So, you know, they're not, I came to realize I would be a terrible judge, because if you do a scroll, for instance, I don't want to see a bunch of hammer marks in a scroll, because that's telling me you forged a scroll, you didn't form a scroll. So when you're doing a scroll, the only parts that you would typically be beating on between the anvil and your hammer are like any tapers that would be on there or any decorative elements, but once you've got past that, the rest of that should be relatively clean. So, but hammer dings and like your tooling and things like that, you know, I was like, oh man, there's no way I would pass that. So, but most I have seen it's been fine. So. Yeah, don't worry about that. Honestly, don't worry about, I think speed files, you want to stay away from grinders. Stay away from that. I would, now I'm not an Abana official. Hell, I've never even gotten my cert. I probably should just do that, but, and I can easily go get mine graded. I go to the shop every Thursday night with Kurt Fehrenbach, and Mark Asbury blessed him on the spot to be able to grade those things. So I could probably just go do that. But here's the thing, right? I don't want to tell you, yes, you can file it. I would argue though that if it's been filed and filed well, there was no forge work that left England in the 1700s that had not seen a file, unless it was to be finished when it got here. There was no finished work that didn't see a file. You go to Colonial Williamsburg, I almost guarantee most of the work there, filed work. The only thing that didn't really see files was dudes on the trail. So, I mean, it's kind of like, really? Almost everything saw file work. Nobody wanted to see a bunch of hammer dings in work. They knew it was handmade. You know, they didn't need to see hammer marks to prove it. And anybody that's worth his salt can look at it and go, yeah, that was clearly filed and well, you can see. But I don't want to tell you that that's okay. I would, if you can reach out to whomever and find out. Cover your bases. But I don't think as much rough work as I've seen pass, I would like to think that they're not going to really get too anal about file work. Always file it, throw it back in the fire, scale it up, and then brush it real good. But yeah. Yeah, it's not like the ABS Mastersmith credentials. I don't think you're gonna, the only time I think somebody would say or question something, if it was like immaculate work and they didn't know who you were, at that point, I would say probably you could just show them other work that you have done, and then they would be like, oh, you've done this a while. How long have you been doing this? If you told, you know, if you have a few years under your belt and you do it regularly, that might help tell that story, right? So I don't think anybody's going to tell you to do it in front of them. It's not, the criteria for success there is not that high. However, if they see something that is suspicious, that could be a different story. Like I said, if you whip out some perfect immaculate piece and you tell them you've been forging for 2.5 years, they're probably going to raise an eyebrow to that. I'm not saying these look like shit, but you know, if it looked like Peter Ross whipped that thing out over the course of 3 weeks, yeah, okay. I can see why there might be some questions there. Level 1 is really simple and really from my perspective of it, and my attempts at it, it seems like the real big things are they want you to show that, one, you are able to do some of the basics and follow a plan. Come up with a plan and follow the plan. So that's what the gate latch is, right? You know, you're having to forge something to a specification. So if you can hit those specifications, great. So that was really, in my group at Kurt Fehrenbach's shop, that seemed to be the biggest drawback, or the biggest challenge, was guys just kind of went off and started making a gate latch, but they weren't following the plan. And I was like, yo, it's got to be that gate latch. You can't, yes, we understand you can make a gate latch, but can you make that gate latch to those specs? That's where it gets tricky, if you want to say that. And Mark's videos on that gate latch are hands down, bar none, the best out there. Now here, I'm going to say something again that I probably should not, but I'm going to say it anyways. The Abana curriculum would not exist if it were not for Mark Asbury. He brought that curriculum to the CBA, and then Abana has then adopted that and made changes here and there to it. I don't know that I consider some of the changes better, but they definitely did. So my opinion is if Mark Asbury says this is good, you're good. Now they might become more, selective about that going forward. I don't know. But right now it seems to be pretty laid back. Now, when you get to the level 3, that criticism goes way up, right? Like that critical eye of what's going on and what you did, that goes way, way, way up, as it should, in my opinion, because that is like, that's the pinnacle, right? You've reached the top of the mountain, so to speak, or at least you're trying to. So that bar should be very high at that point. Which is funny, originally I had zero interest in doing the level 3. I thought I might get to level 2, but the more I think about it, the more I'm thinking I might start working towards that in time, only because there's a challenge to it. And I don't really see myself doing a lot of this, but I watched a video on Tested on YouTube from the Tested channel where he had, oh God, what's his name? Douglas somebody or whatever, I think. Anyways, but he's really well-known Repoussé guy. And I saw some of his work, and because I was like, you know what? I used to not have any interest in doing Repoussé. And I saw that stuff and I was like, okay, I would be willing to give that a shot. And in my shop right now, not insulated, not climate controlled, when it drops below 30 degrees, I don't want to be out here. So that Repoussé work, to a large degree, is stuff I could do in my basement. My wife would probably hate it, but I could do that in the basement because I'm not really heating much up. And anything I do heat up, I can heat up in my wood stove for the most part. So it's not, it's not out of the realm of possibility. I'm gonna put this smoke down. I'm gonna grab a hammer, and I don't know what the hell I'm doing with this. Let's make a quick leaf. Just to get, I haven't swung a hammer in a few days, since Saturday. I didn't even swing a hammer on Saturday. I swung a sledgehammer on Saturday. Yeah, man. If you can do it, I would say for me, one of the biggest challenges of doing stuff like that is using somebody else's anvils and stuff, because in a lot of cases, a lot of anvils are different. So you kind of got to spend some time with them to get a feel for them. And it doesn't take a lot of time typically, but sometimes there are certain things that there's certain techniques that I like to use that I go to somebody else's shop and their anvils are just not conducive to doing that type of work in that way. So I kind of have to change how I would do things to more appropriately match with the available options at that time. I'm going to close this door because it's creating a cross breeze in here. It's a little chilly. And then I will switch. I will try to remember to switch because I think my big TV died, and I used to use that to monitor my cameras, and now I can't really see what's going on. So you guys will have to let me know how things look for you when I switch to this camera, which I'm going to do. I'm kind of thankful my wife doesn't ask me for too much when it comes to forging stuff, because then it feels like a job. It's like, damn it, now I got to forge it. I did that. That happened last year, and I was like, oh, damn it. I actually went to the store and bought the thing because I just really didn't want to make it. I started it, but I just, please God, no. Don't make me. Gave my hammer a little touch up because it was getting a little rough looking. I'm pretty happy with that. All right. Yeah, this is not going to work. I can already tell. And I didn't switch. Yeah, I'm going to have to rekey this handle. All right. Alrighty then, let's see. So I'm going to drive my key out real quick. I could feel it wasn't right. Let me pull this out so I don't burn it. I tried to do. Pretty sure I'm going to need to use two because these are pretty narrow. What in the world? It's got a hell of a burr on it. That's weird. Well, so I'm going to use two keys. Where am I? What is going on here? This is not my normal Hardy stem. This key is too fat. This key's got some nasty burrs on it. I don't know what happened to it. So let me hit it with a file real quick. There we go. Okay. Already better. I'm gonna back this one up real quick. Okay. Okay. So it pulled up. Just gonna heat it up before I try to straighten it. So it's ringing right now. I got a little pad that I put under it that eliminates the ringing for the most part. I got a bigger hammer. Let me pop over here real quick. Okay. How is that camera angle, by the way? Get the guillotine tool, man. It is well worth it. I use mine all the time. I have the original Uncle Buck's guillotine tool. Roy has made significant updates to it, so one would think it's even better. But if it does the thing, it's golden, right? All right, let me go back to that. This bar is getting a little toasty. rough round. Hey, Zach. Wow, Zach. What? So anyways, come in here. There's better ways to go about this, but I'm stubborn, and I try to sneak my hammer in here. I'm going to, it's a little more tapered right there, so I'm just trying to blend that out a little bit. And then take it from a rougher round to a smoother round, but for leaves, unless I'm doing something specific, I love leaving it a little rough because I can, and I'm lazy. But yes, I can also sit here and go about really cleaning it up, but I'm not going to. And I have no idea what compelled me to do a leaf, but so I'm going to cool this end off. What's on the spit? On the spit? Say what? I ain't barbecuing, man. You hungry? I think Dan's hungry, y'all. Honestly, I'm not sure what you mean. It's on the spit. I do not know. I don't know. May, June, July property taxes, anniversary month, blah, 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 blah. All the stuff. Yeah, I hear that. So I'm going to leave that ridge a little bit and a guideline. That's all. Before I put this back in the fire, let me go grab a fuller. So hopefully there's one right up top. We put all my hand tools away. Yeah, okay, this was the one I used the most. Chisel. And there's my favorite chisel. No, it's not my favorite chisel. There's a really poopy fuller in there. What's this? Okay. Another chisel. Another chisel. Good Jesus. Ugh. I knew it. I knew it. Putting all this stuff. I should have gone through this yesterday and did not. We just kind of crammed this stuff in these cans. Chisels, more chisels. What the shit? So, in here somewhere, I have a fuller. Right. I usually have one out. There's one. Ooh, the guy has seen some abuse, but it'll work. It'll work. Will there be a strand? Will there be a stream? Isn't that what we're doing? Is it not streaming to Twitch? I think the last time I did this, somebody said there was no video on Twitch, which made no damn sense, but unless something has changed, which I don't doubt one bit. It's always the last one you pick up. Always, isn't it? Let me check over here real quick. So it shows that it's streaming to Twitch. Let me click the little eyeball thingy, which is not doing a damn thing. So if I go click on this stream, it shows a black screen again. I do not understand why it's doing that. Everybody else can see what's going on, right? Yeah, man, I don't know. Which camera are we on? We're on the right one. So that line that I left on there, I'm just going to kind of use that as a guide. And completely missed it. That's okay. I can move over a little bit. Didn't get as far as I would have liked to with that, but that's okay. I don't know, as far as stream goes, on Twitch, yeah, man, I don't know what it did that last time I tried this. So, I don't know. But I would recommend checking it out on YouTube, honestly. And to be honest, if Twitch keeps up the way it's been, I'll probably just drop it and just go YouTube. I'm a blacksmith. I ain't no damn streamer. I really don't like fussing with it. It really just kills my vibe if I have one. I would rather not have to deal with that crap. It got fixed on YouTube. Was it not working on YouTube when I started? That's weird. I've received no indications that there were issues. That's twice. Like my aim is just, I see what's happening. It's rolling off of it. There we go. We'll get it hot. Boy, those aren't in line at all. That's okay. That's okay. Yeah, but I think what I'm going to do, since there's only no people watching on Facebook and no, technically one person on Twitch, I'll leave it alone. But depends on your tools, Ken. I prefer, so if you have a flat tool, struck end, if it's really flat, I prefer to use round. If you have a really big dome on your struck tool, which really, in my opinion, I don't like, then I would recommend going with a flat, right? Because they're going to tend to want to skip off of each other. You can use flat, but flat, again, tends to want to skip out. If you're not perfectly square to the tool, I prefer round. It's the same when we're using top tools, right? We always use the round side of the sledgehammer. Bad hits don't tend to leave dents, and they don't tend to kick the tools out as bad. And heat is your friend, obviously, as I demonstrated. Like as it was getting cold, I was trying to do that, and it was kicking it out. So there's where I'm at with that. I'm gonna move this down a little deeper before moving on to the next one, and then I'll move up to the top after that. Shut your pie hole, dude, and bang some steel. Explain what you're doing. Sheesh. Oh, hey, we got one of those jokesters that think they can forge. Man, you should probably go back to your knife, bruh. Your Damascus billet's probably melting away in your gas forge right now. All right, later, bro. What's that? What's that they say? What them kids say? Bye, Felicia. Yeah, a little bit more on these. shut my pie hole. He's so mean, y'all. He was so mean. He told me to shut my pie hole. I would say just forge the point on your knife. It ain't that damned hard. You're just forging a taper on the end of a bar. But sure, cut it. I see a lot of guys cut them. But I guess if you got too much material down there, I guess cutting it is the thing to do. But otherwise, just forge a tip. Mucho better. I'm just gonna move that down. Probably a little too spread out, but I wanted to give the next fuller lines room to grow. I mean, forging a point is not, it's really not that difficult. Honestly, if you want to get into that, I would personally suggest starting with round bar, forge the knife out most of the way. If you're just gonna kind of profile it, if that's what we're gonna call that, with flat bar, and I get it, especially like when you're doing Damascus, right? But I get that, but if you're just using a homogeneous steel, you're not, at that point, starting with flat stock, and I don't know, man. Not a fan. How about that? But I don't forge knives, so don't listen to anything I say. Oh. Okay, I'm going to go back over the bottom ones again because I still got some more I can do there. Try to take up the space between them. Yeah, I think shears are fine, really. I mean, you can cut. I've seen some guys in like Asia that do that. Like, you know, they'll cut the thing and whatever. You know, I've seen videos of dudes making Japanese swords where they cut that chisel point on it, which makes sense. I mean, I guess that would be not an easy transition to forge that really crazy chisel end on them. I get it, but unless you're doing something crazy, though. And you can do a lot with files. Some good files and a rasp and some files, even an angle grinder. You know, I mean, really, as far as the blacksmith shop goes, if you can get yourself go like to a pawn shop or go to like a Goodwill and keep your eyes open for an angle grinder, man, because that will save you a lot of time. Where that guy's at. Now I'm just going to do the top ones. Well, I was really hoping that Roger Rabbit was gonna stick around and try to troll me for a while. I haven't had much luck with getting trolled by people this week. I had I had some spammer call me, so I'd asked, "Hey, what's this in regards to?" And he said, "I love this." He said, "It's in regard to the fact that you're not sucking my dick." I was like, "Oh, well, I'm sorry." He really said that. And I was like, "Okay, well, maybe we can set up some time tomorrow." And then he hung up on me. Here, help a brother out. I really don't know. Like, was it supposed to be a spam call? And then once he realized he wasn't going to get where he needed to get with that pitch, he just decided to go that prank route. Or if it was a legit prank call, which I'd kind of be excited by, because hell, I haven't had one of those in years. And it's usually my dumbass friends doing it. But most of my friends have grown out of it. Sorry, bastards. Probably also they realize I rarely ever answer the phone. I was expecting something from another thing. It was the only reason I answered that call in the first place, because it was in an area code that I was familiar with. Because normally I do not. So I'm just chiseling in these little marks. Now a little further back than I wanted it to. That's okay. So there it is now. Not great, but it'll leave. It'll leave. We'll go from there. Yeah, they can definitely spoof them. But that guy, I have not laughed that hard in a while. So I appreciated that call, whatever it was. So I need to go down the center one more time, and I don't need it blazing hot for all that. So Ken Foster, I would say in my shop, 99% of the time, you would want to be using the round side of your hammer or a round face for what you're doing, for what I'm doing. I typically only use the flat face as a planishing tool and a cleaning up tool. There are times while I'll use it for general forging, but that's usually when I'm trying to sneak up on something, but rare. Is 99% of the time I would say round face is what I would consider my go-to face. Not 99, I mean not 99%, let's say 90. Okay. I think I'm just gonna clean that. There's got a couple chop marks down the center that I wanna kind of address. Wrong side, I felt it. All right. So now, I'm just going to take this over there. Well, I can probably do it. I don't know that you'll see anything over here. Oh, you know what? I can switch to the big camera. Let's do that and see what we can see. What can we see? This spot over here. So I'll drag my stump over there. So you can kind of see it, the stump that I use for this. And it's right, there's nothing special, really. Let me come over here so I can see what you can see. No, it needs to go more towards the TV tray. So it needs to come more this way. Okay, you can see it now. All right. Okay, yeah, I mean, I really think we've talked about that kind of stuff within our own group. You know, one of the things that I feel that would be really beneficial is one group in Ohio does this, I believe. When you first come out to their thing, it doesn't matter who you are, you have to take their quote-unquote green coal class, and then I think they have an introductory class, and they're both relatively short, but just the introductory to coal, I think, can make a huge difference for people. Because it, you know, not everybody uses it. So I'm going to try this little guy because I like the face. I want it a little hotter than that. Give myself a little head start. There we go. So I'm going to take this detail down. That is what I'm beating into the stump here. And I am going to just now I already have some depressions I can use. So I'm going to get this hot again and do that one more time in a deeper depression. I just kind of like getting it started there, and it'll really cup it. There's a bajillion ways you can go about this, but I like the stump for this. Either you know, like a 6x6 piece of hardwood, end grain up. That's what you're working from. Can really make this stand out. Really change the dimension of this. The dynamics. That's the word. So I'm gonna. But you don't lose your detail on the leaf by doing it that way. Let me switch to the other camera. Get this a little more hot, but not lots of hot. Make sure my brush is here still. Yeah. And what I'll do, I want to do a bigger sculpture soon of all these little leaves and elements and whatnot, and forge mold them all together. So I've been kind of hanging on to them. And eventually I will forge weld them all together, and it might be cool. We'll know once I do it, but it might not be cool. Who knows? We'll know once it's done, but it won't be done tonight. It'll probably be after June when I work on it. So there's that all shinied up. Not terrible. Was not happy with that fuller though. It needs to be dressed. That's okay. Well, okay, that is not in a good spot to try to cut off right now. I'm not going to, I'll just do that later. I'll cut that off. I'm going to cut off about 3/4 of an inch on that end, leave it square, 1/2 inch square. What's the blue thing on the other stump? Oh, I think you're looking at the bucket, I'm assuming. This is a 3D printed die anvil for clay. I eventually want to make one of these, a real one, but when we work with young people, this gives you an idea of the different dies that you can use and what those dies do. So it's 3D printed, it's meant for clay. I also have a 3D printed hammer to go with it. Let me switch to the big hammer. Well, I had a 3D printed hammer to go with it, but again, things have moved. Ah, I found it. So, that's a little 3D printed hammer. You can get this from Schweder Ironworks, SCHWETER Ironworks on Etsy. He makes these files available, or you can buy them printed relatively cheaply. You can print them yourself. But you don't need one. You can use a small lighter hammer. I will tell you, we're working with clay. A 2-pound hammer will tire you out pretty quick trying to hold that back working on clay. For this, you can boop, boop, no big deal. Kids love it also. So you can do this. You can do it over your anvil too. But the nice thing about the die anvil is you got different fullers essentially. You got a flat and then a butcher. And it just kind of really informs the use of different dies available to you as a blacksmith, and then translating some of those dies to a rounding hammer or other hammer, right? Like a cross peen, you know, different size cross peens. So this is a bit extreme. Or you can even go into top tools and fullers or chisels, hand tools, you know, with a butcher, so on and so forth. So that's what that is. I hope that's what you were talking about when you said blue thing. It was the first thing I saw. Yeah, so the goal, and Zach, yeah, at some point I'd like to make these. I think we can do these on my mill pretty easily. We just need the appropriate size material. But again, like everything else, this, I could pull this anvil off, put that hardy stem in there, and key it into the striking anvil, or I can key it in up here. And it would have a stem, and I could run the key in this way, much like my 30-degree V-swage same principle there, right? So I could take that off and drop it in. I want to do my guillotine tool that way eventually as well, where you can key the guillotine tool in to the anvil so it's not jiggling and bouncing around so much. It's interesting. I have no idea where the V-swage is. Paul and I finished it last weekend. Oh, there it is. Hey, look, it's right where it's supposed to be. So we put the Hardy stem on this last weekend. And this one is, I would say this is, this slot is much longer than it really needed to be, but I wanted it to fit every anvil in my shop. It does fit every anvil in the shop but one. Well, maybe two if you count my Henry Wright, because it's only got a 3/4 inch Hardy hole on it. So it won't fit that. But anything with a 1-inch Hardy, this will fit and allow me to key it in. Which is really nice when you're trying to do certain operations with this bad boy. It's not moving all over the place. You can just lock it. But as you can see, it's got significant amount of slot open right there, which is why I have this spacer. So it's just a spacer that drops in here, take up some of the space. So, but it's still pretty big. I could make a bigger spacer, which I probably will do eventually. And then the keys on that, same thing. Oh, let me go grab the other one. It is way over yonder because I was going to work on that tonight. This is for a friend of mine. Oh, and I've barricaded myself, making it hard to get to. But this is a much bigger key. It hasn't been cut off the bar yet. But he's got the slot exposed under his anvil is about 1 1/8 inches. So this one's a slight bit bigger. And he won't use all of this. That's fine. So I can slide this guy in. Right, and then I can take this other key and back this one out a little bit. This one seems a little off. There we go. Now, hammer. Now, like I said, this one hasn't been cut to size yet. But, there you see, it locks that down. And ideally, I would also have a pad under this one. And what it does, the pad just kind of takes up inconsistencies between the two faces. So there's no chatter there. But I'll show you real quick. Bill Corey, if he's still around, he's probably seen this before, but this is a 60-degree V-swage, not a 45, it's 60. So forging hex on that is stupid easy. So let me grab this bar, which I don't know what this is. Some kind of sucker rod it looks like. So, and I'll switch to the other camera. So it's just sucker rod, 5/8. So we'll switch to the other camera real quick. Yeah, hands-on instruction, in my opinion, is hands down, tenfold better than any other form of instruction. And here's why, provided that the instructor isn't terrible. But the biggest benefit to that is they can see what you're doing wrong and correct for it. Where if you just watch a video, it's hard for you to see what you're doing wrong. If you don't have that option, I would recommend making videos of yourself doing the thing and go back and watch it. You will eventually start seeing what you're not doing correctly. Yeah, Andrew Larson, if you want a striking anvil, with a keyed anvil. He sells a whole kit. Don't ask me what it is. I don't remember. I will say, if you have access to somebody that can weld, or you can weld yourself, they're relatively simple to build. 3-inch square tube for the legs. You can get away with 2.5 inch. I wouldn't go lower than that. They just look kind of funny. But 3-inch square tube, 1/4 inch thick walls. You don't need to go any bigger than that, but you can. But again, there's no need to. Don't go lower than 3/16. For the base plate, or the safety plate as I call it, the base plate, 3/4 inch plate, 12 by 16 is what we use. No need to go bigger than 3/4, but you can go up to 1 inch if you don't plan to move it. If you're going to move it around, that 1/4 inch on a 12 by 16 piece adds a significant amount of weight. And then the striking anvil itself is mild steel. The whole thing is mild steel. Mild steel. It is 5-inch by 2-inch thick plate. I cut mine down to 11 inches long, but up to 12 inches. By cutting them down to 11, I can't show you on this one because this was 12, but it frees up room up here, and it makes it just a lot easier. So let's just show this V-switch, right? So the key to the V-switch is, no matter which one you put it in, you got to have material sticking above it, right? So this would be too small, or this is too big. That's probably too small. So that won't work. So 5/8, 3/4 of an inch, 1 inch, probably 3/8 maybe, 1/4. Might be able to get half in there. This is 1/2 inch bar. Let's take a look. Yeah, 1/2 inch down here, and then 1/4 up here. I should stamp it or something so I would know. So let's go over here. I'm just going to use the flat right now. So I'm going to come in here, turn it. And you don't really even have to think about this too much. Turn it. I didn't really try, I'm just turning it and go. So, forged a rough hex there. Easy peasy. So if you struggle with forging hex, this makes it like cheating. And it keeps it relatively even. There's some things you got to do too, but for the most part, it keeps it relatively easy to do. I'm not technically making anything, just kind of demonstrating a 60-degree V-swage. One of my favorite things to use the 60-degree V-swage for is welding bars together, multiple bars, round bar. It will keep them contained, and then all the trash will fall down below where you're never going to get your piece down there before it becomes an issue, right? People struggle with that comment, so I'm going to try to demonstrate that real quick. I will never be able to take this piece of 5/8. Which camera are we on? Okay, I will never be able to take this in this swage right here and drive this to the bottom. I would never be able to do that. See that? I'm already bottoming out. And there's still at least 1/8 of an inch to go before I hit the bottom of that. Because it's an equilateral triangle. You will never get to the bottom before your tops and your hammer starts to bottom out. The only way you can get to the bottom is to put the piece in there and put something on top of it and start driving it down, which would be dumb. Just come over to the next one, you know, that you can use and go from there. You'll never drive it down in there. Not, again, without assistance. But just using your hammer, you'll never get it down there. And that's a feature. That's the way it's supposed to be. Even on a press or a power hammer, it doesn't matter. Why? Because your material is below the tops of the die. So it'll never be able to drive it any further. The only way to do that is to put something above it and then hit that. Which, if you want to make a die to make these, you gotta do some preform to get there, and then you can work it down and get it in there. But it's not as simple as just driving it in there. Now, if you want to make a bigger one of these, you can drive your die down a little more. So we can see right there, but I got exposed material here I can hit though. Whoop. Trying to straighten it out. Not perfect, but much straighter than what it was earlier. As you can see, it's not locked down very well either. It's moving. But that's a pretty decent hex. Just needs to be straightened out. But it's not bad. Not perfect, but not bad. So if you struggle forging hex, 60-degree V-swage can help you get there quicker. I'm going to put this down, and I'm going to drop this swage off the anvil because it looks ridiculous with this long bar hanging off the side. But yeah, I mean, you just drive these keys in and it just keeps it from bouncing around. Really is my biggest thing. I can't stand anything worse than a tool that's jiggling all over the place. So this particular key, the big one, needs to be cut right about here and then upside down to forge a struck end on it. And this is for my buddy Dan Borowski, which I need to finish this tomorrow morning or tonight. I need to cut it off because I'm supposed to give it to him tomorrow. And if you make your slots or your keys appropriately, you can get it to where you just use the one. You don't need two. But if you have a stem that's really extra long, then sometimes, you know, like creating a spacer and a bigger key, you would be fine. I would say one key, for me, my experience so far, one key tends to hold better than two. Because if there's any variances between the two keys, and you can even see it, if there is any variance between the keys, then that means it's not making contact. So one thing you can do, and it's tricky, is to heat them both up. You're going to probably want help with a friend. Heat both your keys up, right? and put them in a vise and clamp them together in a vise, and it'll bring the ends together. So if you look at that key and this key, I'm going to guess that these tapers aren't perfect, and you can tell that they're not perfect. This is an easy test that they're not perfectly aligned. Put them together and look at them. So you see how this one here is pointing up, shouldn't be pointing up, should be relatively straight in line, right? Now it's pointing down a little bit, and you can also see that this is not making contact on the end. It should be the same taper, so they're not perfectly aligned. So by heating them up, you can get them in a vise and close them in together, and that will help alignment. But again, I have personally found one key it's not that it's hard, it's kind of a pain in the ass, but I found that one key typically holds better than two because of that. The other thing is, on your slot, you want these keys to fit with very little play, right? So you want to reduce the amount of play in them as possible. A pretty good fit. But this is probably a little too tight. This one's better. So this key fits much better. There's play in there, but it's not terrible. Like, there's maybe a 30-second on each side, which is still a little loose, but you can always hot fit your key to that slot. But you're talking about a 1-inch piece, so your surface area is minimal. So I would rather have them tighter, personally, because of the minimal amount of surface area that it's going to have on the top and bottom. So you get a little bit of side action too. And you can blue it up with like Dykem, however you want to say it. But Prussia Blue, I think is another word for it, and it might actually be a completely different product, but they kind of do the same thing. But Dykem, Blue, Dykem, when you slide it in there, it will typically, if you're not showing any rubbing, you're not making contact. So you can you can upset it, redo it, and put it in. And once it starts rubbing, it'll start scraping the Dykem off. Or if you do it wet, it will start painting the sides of the contact surface. So there's a lot of different ways you can go about that. Actually, if you go look up, oh hey Roy. If you look up Tom Clark power hammer or Tom Clark Samac power hammers, there's a series of videos. In those videos, he shows fitting a key to a power hammer, hot fitting a key. It's really not that much different, only he has a whole lot more surface area to work with versus this. But it's the same concept. You're basically just upsetting your key in increments as you go and hot fitting it to the piece. And it should, if you're going to do that, it should be on the anvil that you're going to do it with. I don't think it's necessary, but some guys want to go the extra mile. So if you want to go the extra mile, you can do that. So this one is not using a universal stem because I found that it's only like 1.5 inches, and it left the sidewalls a little anemic for my tastes, and I was just kind of like, so instead what I did is forge that stem out, and then we locked it into an anvil over there, and Paul heated the tenon up for me, and then we set that tenon down onto that block, and the block had grooves cut out into it in a cross pattern so that when you upset it, it'll bite into those grooves, so it reduces the ability of that tenon to spin. Not that it would eliminate it, but for the most part it does. Joe, I prefer a hand crank for a coal forge, and electric if you're going to be using coke forge. I concur with Roy. I used a hand crank on a coke forge for a while, and it's not that it can't be done. It's just you got to be mindful and keep it running. If you're going to step away from it for any length of time, get a piece of wood, hardwood preferably, like a 3-inch round limb or something, dry, and run it down into your fire pot with the coke, and then surround it with coke, and that will keep it lit long enough. And then don't pull it out. Start your hand crank with that wood in there, get it going again, and then pull the wood out. You might need to quench it off if you want to save the wood. Just dunk it real quick and then throw it back under your forge, and you should be good to go. But I do much rather prefer electric. And let me show you something. Now, I'm not, because I'm the one that donated the blower to Christ-Centered Ironworks, so I'm not saying not to. I would quote unquote consider the blower that Roy is running is, and I'm pretty sure I got him the 300 something CFM blower. That will blow coke out of your forge stacked 8 inches tall. If you open that thing full bore, it can easily shoot coke out of there. A super deep coal forge, coke pot loaded. It can blow coke out of there, which is what you want when you want to be able to run something that big. They make smaller ones. Just stick with at least 125 CFM in that range, 130. I say that. One over there I think is 130 CFM. It's their middle blower from, I think it's Blacksmith's Depot. And then this one over here is it's the same one actually. These two are the same, if I recall. I run this one off of a variable transformer or a variac. This one is actually a variac. I got in an auction. These are expensive, but you can get them on eBay or Amazon from our friends in the Far East for relatively cheap. I think anywhere from, depending on the kind, anywhere from 50 to 80 bucks, somewhere in that range, was when I bought mine last. And I don't have it available to show you. I can't pull this one off, but it's just look up variable transformer or a variac. I've heard of guys using dimmer switches, dimmers, or I'm not a big fan of those. Honestly, the easiest solution is to get an air gate, and you can get cheap ones on Amazon for like 10 bucks for like a pack of 3. I've got one over here. That's why I'm walking off camera, because I'm going to go grab it, and I'm going to grab something else. So here's the air gate. All right, it's just a cheapy air gate. Doesn't need to be anything wild. Just an air gate. You can forge yourself a little handle, drill a hole or something. Probably 2 holes is what I would suggest, and then create an L or something to put here, and you can rivet it together or just bolt it together. It doesn't have to be anything fancy. So you've got a little handle that you can open and close. If you want to be crazy, you can drill a very, very small hole in the center of this gate so that even when you close it, it still allows a little bit of air through, so it'll keep your fire going. So some guys do that, some guys don't like to do that. Up to you. But that's all you got to do for that. The hardest part about these is figuring out how to mount it to your blower. This is this the Dayton? No, this is the Fazco blower, and it's if you're actually interested in something like this, just let me know, and I can post it in the comments section later, a link to this. But friends of mine have been using these little guys for years with no problems, and they do tools, hammers, tools to make tools, big hammers, so on and so forth. So this will get you most everything you need. So the hardest part is fabricating the mount for your gate, if you want to call it that. You just need a little plate here with a 3-inch hole or something to allow the air out, whatever. Just fabricate yourself a little doohickey. Now with these, you've got to wire it yourself. Does not come with a cord. Still an appliance cord from some appliance at a scrapyard, wired in, easy peasy. And then figure out how to mount this little guy. And they're quiet and they work great. I'm gonna go set this back down before I drop it. But yeah, I've got one of those. So my cheap Variac, the no brand Variac on this forge died. So now it's just a foot switch. But the problem with the foot switch is it's all or nothing. So I like over the hammer end, I liked having the foot switch there, because people have a bad habit of just opening the gate up or running at full tilt boogie and then walking away. And it's just blowing through your fuel. So with an air gate, you can shut it down, but even if there's a pinhole in there, if they walk away from that foot switch, no longer running. So I'll probably leave a foot switch on that. But that one is going to get swapped out for that blower. And the nice thing is, I've seen some guys, there's different ways to go about this, but I've seen some guys have their hand crank blower set up that runs into it basically runs right down into their fire pot as normal. And I think what they were doing is a lot of these blowers on the sides are opened up a little bit, and he was just running it straight into his hand crank blower, which was running it into his forge. But you can just put a Y in too, just as easy. Different approaches to that issue if you want to keep the hand crank going. If you're on Facebook and friends with Brian Brazil, even if you're not, you could probably send him a message and ask for details on how he runs his. I'm gonna ask, because I don't remember. It's been, I put it wasn't lit, but once lit cigar in my pocket. But I don't remember how his setup worked, so I'll probably ask. Yeah. Whew. How much for 50 pounds? For all free, so you'd have to get what, 3 bags? So where is it JLJ Forge and Fishing? Whereabouts are you located? If you're anywhere near the Quad State area, being Troy, Ohio, if you're anywhere like within a 4-hour drive and you're going to come to Quad State, I would say buy your fire pot from the RCBA. It's the best fire pot out there. I can show you one. Let me go grab it. So if you hear a lot of straining and grunting, you'll know why. For what they're charging for it, I think it's the best fire pot out there. Oh, I lied. It's way too far away for me to go grab it. But it's about, I'm going to get in trouble and be wrong, but It is a fully cast fire pot that I believe is 1 inch thick. And the dimensions are around 12 by 8 and 6 inches deep. Somewhere in there. It's a big fire pot. If I load this fire pot up with green coal and bank everything up, I don't do it all the time, but I could use an entire bag of coal doing that. In my opinion, the RCBA, and I think there's a group in the northeastern part of the country, the New England Blacksmith Group, I don't know what it's called, but I think they're also casting fire pots. But the RCBA, which is the Rutherford County Blacksmith Association, casts these fire pots, and that money goes to help support their team, their group, and their tuitions for their members. So it's a worthy cause, in my opinion. Ashton's acid cigars, 2-hour cigars. When I hear acid, I immediately think of flavored cigars, and I'm not a fan of flavored cigars, so I probably would avoid them. My favorites of Maduros and probably the Habano wrappers after that are my favorites. And then natural or Connecticut wrappers. There's some other things out there I've tried, but those are probably my favorites. Was it outside, Bill? I bet you that's it. There was one outside that I had mentioned somebody, and I guess they forgot. I'm not gonna mention any names, Corbin. But I asked that to get moved because I had a feeling somebody would trip on it. And the RCBA pots are $260, I think. So, again, for the money, $275. Let's say $275. For the money, there is no better fire pot available out there right now, in my opinion. Dave Custer makes a nice fabricated pot, but again, the prices are comparable. And it's a fabricated pot. If you take care of it, it'll last you a lifetime. But a cast iron fire pot, in my opinion, will definitely last your lifetime. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it, unless you do something stupid like dump a bucket of water in it when it's hot. Then you've got an issue. So I'm gonna heat this thing up. There's that calla lily I started working on with the power hammer. And the induction forge, Roy. But this shape got to a point where it was not heating very well in the induction forge. So, can you buy it online? I do not know. I know that they will ship them, but again, it's approximately 80 pounds, so you will be paying for shipping for sure. But they are on Facebook. I don't know about any. So look up the Rutherford County Blacksmiths Association. And, what's that guy's name? Roy probably knows him. Bill probably knows him. Is it Buzz? Something like that. He goes by some name, Buzz, or it's not actually his name. So it always threw me for a trip. Yeah, so I would message them. I do not know if you can get it online. I've paid for them. I let them know. I bought 3 at one point and let them know. And Greg Hagan from Holland Anvil was at their event. So he was kind enough to haul them back for me on his way home, because he had to come basically right by me on his way home. So he was kind enough to do that. So I would assume that you can arrange payment and shipping via online, but I don't necessarily think they have a store online. Or be at Quad State on Thursday, not Friday, Thursday, not Saturday, on Thursday, when they roll in and buy that fire pot, because every year that I've seen them show up with those fire pots, they have sold out, usually by Friday. So if you want one, don't procrastinate, get your ass over there and get one if you're gonna be there. Hey, now that Roy's here, I'm gonna go get my tiny hammer. Well, this is not the tiny hammer I was gonna use, but, oh, there it is. I'm getting my tiny hammer. Ho, ho, ho. I gotta do something about that tape though, I can't stand it. I have a big family in Murfreesboro, nowhere near me now. Yeah, but that's the area they're at, so. I'd love to go down there. I've not been down to their place. They got cool stuff going on down there. But again, every forge in my shop runs that fire pot, and I have 5. They're not all always set up, but I have 5 of those fire pots. These 2 forges don't get broke down when I leave this shop. And I have 2 that I can set up at any given time when I do hammer-ins, or if I need more forges in the shop if I got a bunch of people here. And then my travel station has always got one in my job box, and it travels with the job box. So when I travel, I don't have to move that thing around all the time. I just whip it out, set it up, and go. Now if I can do this without burning it, we'll be set. $0.04 in ad revenue. Hell yeah. I'm gonna run over here and grab my set hammer. Do it. Oh, hey, that was a long ways down, guys. My set hammer. This one has relatively sharp edges on it. And that is because no small hammer for this. That is because I can move it in and do that. You can use the edge of your anvil to do this too. Whole lot easier with a set hammer. So I could do that, or I can do it like this. So the difference between a flatter and a set hammer is a forging tool. A flatter is a planishing tool. Why? Why is that? You can use one kind of like the other. You can't really ask Troy Rash about this. You can, but using a flatter in place of a set hammer, the reason that doesn't work well is the increased surface area of contact. For a set hammer as a reduced surface area of contact. This is going to get more done and move more than a flatter will. And let me get over here. Whoa, it's amazing when this is bright how quickly this stuff disappears. So, do I have a flatter here? Let me turn this off for a second so I don't burn my piece. Let me see if I have a flatter over here. I do. So here's a flatter, right? This is not a good example either. This has sharp edges. A flatter shouldn't have sharp edges. These edges should be radiused and they should drop away from the face, right? Because it's a planishing tool. You want to use this to clean up lines and clean up your work. Yes, you can use it as a set hammer. It's just not a good set hammer. It's not very good because a set hammer is smaller, reduced surface area of contact. By reducing your surface area of contact, you're going to get more done. The other thing, again, sharper edges, and they're not sharp, they're radiused, just not sharp, but not super radiused. But I can, as you guys saw me do on that, right? So if I want to, I can tilt this up or whatever, and when I hit it, and it will create that impression. So like I did here for this. Oops! Oh no! Oh, nothing like a little skill on your cigar. Oh no! So as you can see here, right? So that is because the rest of this is going to get thinned out. So this is leaving a little meat up here. So my, whatever the hell this thing would be called, this taper doesn't fall off of this thing later. I don't know flower anatomy, sorry. So typically when we make flatters, we'll start with 1.5 inch round or square bar and about 6 inches of it. And we'll upset the top down and then square that up for the face. And leave about 1/2 inch of material or a little bit more, 1/2 inch, 5/8 of material for the face. Don't make it too thin. It'll become a swage at some point. They're both nice tools to have. We use a flatter a lot of times when forging hammers. We'll put the round side in a cupping tool and put a flatter over the top to release the drift. That impact, it kind of opens the eye up ever so lightly. don't know what camera we're even on. Let me make sure, okay. Yeah. Do you knock down the corners and then upset? No. No. We do not. I mean, unless you have, if you're using cold roll, that might not be a bad idea. But no. We just try to forge it down. You want to keep all your hits concentrated in the middle of the billet. As you're working it down. That is a sledgehammer activity. I mean, not that you can't do it with a regular hammer, but that's going to be some work. Now I could use a set hammer to clean these lines up, but it's likely the problem because it's relatively flat. So it's likely if I'm not holding this perfectly and I hit it or I kick it off a little bit, it's going to dig a line in there. Where a properly forged flatter, properly ground flatter, should not do that. Speaking of, oh, it's right here on my anvil, y'all. So here's the one Mark Ling and myself forged. I don't know, 3 years ago, I think. This was forged out of round. And I'm trying really hard to burn this thing up. So let's take it over here. I'll keep it off of the anvil until I'm ready to go. And then I'll bring it over here, up against my little V. Let's try that again without trying to burn it, and then work those marks out. And really, it would be better to use a wider cross peen to take those marks out. So that's what I'll do, is I'll just switch to a bigger cross peen. Easier to clean that up. Because I'm not trying to clean all of it up, I'm trying to clean those little lines up as I go. But I don't want to, on this, I don't really want to clean it up too much because I think those lines will add some cool detail to the calla lily itself, which is what I'm working on. I think it'll add some cool detail to it. So I don't want to make it all disappear. I just want to, I don't know. blend it a little bit better, make it look more cohesive. I guess that's what I'm looking for. So it doesn't look completely random. Oh, that's a good point. Yeah. A flatter makes things flatter. So a set hammer, in a lot of ways, think of it as a way, I don't know, to creating set downs precisely where you want them. So if your aim isn't true, you can put this right where you want it, boom. And then create, like, for instance, that little V element on the end of my taper, or that, oh, there is a fancy French word for that, which I continually forget. But it's essentially, really, it just creates a little structural integrity in that transition area. Some guys will refer to it as a median ridge or whatever, or something like that, a medial ridge. I guess that could be accurate as well. But there is a fancy French name for it, but I can't remember. But the other nice thing about a set hammer is if you want to get into a very specific location and you're worried about a bad blow from your hammer, you can put this and you can sneak this up in there where you need it, and bam, now you've got complete control over it at that point. So I'm going to go over this one more time with this platter. So I want to maintain that. I don't know why I did that left-handed, but I did. That bad boy is thin up there. Yeah, set hammer really offers you a lot of precision, is one of the biggest things, right? Like if you want to do a sit down in a very precise location, you know, if you center punch the spot, you can walk it up to that mark and then just tilt it in and use it as a butcher to a degree. You know, you can do a lot of different cool things with them. So one of the things I've not done, and I'm going to go get it, is isolated this, the calla lily from the quote-unquote stem. So we'll use a guillotine tool for that. So I don't know that this is going to fit in my guillotine tool. It will not. That's okay though. First thing I want to do is straighten this out a little bit. So I want my, I want my straight flat to be on the leaf side. A bigger set hammer. We call that one chunky. Oh, should be using the round side. Bad hit there, but that's okay. And it moved on me, but that's okay. Really just trying to isolate this a little bit. Right here. But a little bit more. Take it easy, man. I'm gonna take my forge mop. It's just a rag on a stick. I put that on the bar outside the fire pot. If I had been doing it, it wouldn't be as warm as it is now. But that helps cool it off. But I think I just need to quench this. So I'll grab a glove, just in case. Don't even know where those are anymore. Sorry, microphone is falling down my shirt. Good enough. Okay. So let me quench the end of this bar off. And I'll switch to the other camera for a bit. So I'm going to take this to my tire hammer and pull a stem out a little bit so I can get to the rest of it. It's going to make getting to the rest of the leaf end, the calla lily side, a lot easier. Honestly, it would have been better to isolate this material from the start, but I wasn't really sure where I was going with this. Hopefully, I don't pay the price for that. Good enough. Okay, I think it's safe to go find my gloves. There they are. Make sure the area around my tire hammer is clear, and it is not. Somebody left their bug repellent. All right. Why the tire hammer versus the 250? Well, that's a damn good question. To be honest, really, I don't need, the 250 has 3-inch wide dies. They're like 2.5, 2-inch dies. So I don't need to chomp down that much, but you know what? Sometimes you just do the thing. So let's go over here real quick, and I'm sorry this is not on video, but I am doing it. Okay. We'll go with that. Now I just got to clean this end up a little bit. Oh, I caught it right there and it pushed it down, so I might have to file that off. I don't know if you can even see what's going on at the vise, but I'm going to bring it over here and use a round file on it. And clean that shoulder up because it's got a cold shut there. The power hammer clipped the end of that, and that will come back to haunt me later if I don't fix it now. So I'm just going to use a round file, clean that up. Almost got it. Well, I got it, but if I were to continue with this, it would do it again. Let me get that hot. So, I'm going to clean that up. Don't have to heat it up to file it, but sure is a little easier. Also a lot easier if you can see it, which I cannot. This side, okay. We'll let that go. Hurt. Anyways. All right. Good Lord. That should free up the back end. Let me work on that. Yeah, I had a bad hit with a power hammer. And it clipped that shoulder and it rolled it right over onto the other piece. Sometimes you got to pivot. That's my bad. Now I'm going to take my set hammer and do the same thing on the back end as soon as I find it. Needs to be a little, and then don't mind this because that'll get forged out, but And the same idea here, right? This is going to get so thin around there, so that little arrow, that little V or whatever, is just providing a little extra support right there. Ideally, to prevent it from just falling off later. And I got a lot more material on his back end to work down. Now I would take it to the power hammer, but it looks fairly decent at this point. I don't want to inadvertently wreck it. But I am going to go over there and just hit it a couple times. And then I'll take it from there. What I don't know is if this is big enough to fit across the face of the big hammer. And then if it does, there's something I'd like to do on the big hammer. But if not, I'll worry about that for another time. Let's go find out. It does. We're gonna, we're gonna come over here. Okay, that wasn't ideal, but it's going to get rolled, so I'm not too worried about it. I was too worried about killing my V's than not. So it pulled this side out more. But it is really thin. I mean, really thin. So you gotta be very careful not to burn it now. But it's gonna get rolled up, so I'm not too worried about it being too off. It's not ideal. But I can make it work. And not just, what I like about this is this was a test, really. I've never done it like this before. And this was some information. Holy shit, holy fuck, look at this dude. I got a lobster in the shop, y'all. This is how much it flooded in here. Hey, this little bastard's feisty. I got a lobster in the shop. Look at a big old crawdad. You're gonna make me burn my piece, dude. Holy crap. That dude is huge. Get him, buddy. I just stepped on this dude. He wouldn't even know it. Oh, hey, let go. Hey, let go. He is not letting go of the lens. Holy shit, that's awesome. I gotta take a picture of this guy. What do I do with my phone? Oh man, that's hilarious. Dude. You want that? You want that? He's like, man, I don't want that. Get that thing off me. I want to bite you. Where in the hell did my phone go? Okay. I gotta take a picture of this guy. Oh, it's in my pocket, y'all. Oh, here I'm gonna take him outside. I don't want to kill it, so I'm gonna take him outside, but I want to get a good picture of him. I'm gonna take him outside and release him out here, because you ain't supposed to be in here, dude. If I was a little closer to the riverbed, I would take him down to the river, but he's gonna have to figure that shit out on his own. That was a mud bug. Call Daddy. That's the biggest one I've seen around here. I mean, shit. You find about 40 more of them, I'm gonna have myself a bowl. All right. Sorry. That was awesome. I gotta send this picture off. All right. That's a first. We found a dead one, a small, I mean tiny one. Found a dead one, and this, my shop will flood once in a while. We get a good enough rain, water will run through here and then out. But I'm not sure that's where he came from. I got like and then our yard has got a really bad low spot, and it's basically a swamp. I backed up and stepped on that dude, and I was like, what in the world is that? I mean, I'm a fat ass, let's be real. But I'm a light-footed fat ass. If you have kids, you'll understand that, or puppies who like to drag their toys out and leave them around for you to step on. Currently, we have a puppy. She loves to drag all of her toys out first thing in the morning. It's like her favorite thing to do. She prances around the house with them to show everybody her toys. And then she leaves them strung out. I need to figure out how to teach her how to put the damn things up. Actually, it's probably easier to teach her to put her toys away than it was my kid. Because my kids still don't do it. We went fishing years and years and years and years ago. I think my stepson at the time was 12. And we caught one of those in the river, and he was a big guy. And he fell off the line in the boat, and everybody scrambled. We were in this little bitty tiny John boat. 3 grown men and a kid scrambling for their lives to escape this crawfish. It was pretty hilarious. It was night. We didn't know what the hell it was. We had a similar encounter with was it a soft shell turtle? And they can extend their necks out and reach around behind them and bite. And that little bastard was mean. See, I never did scouts, but we did a lot of camping when I was a kid. Good in there. Good in there. How do you forget to drain the mac and cheese? Oh, that's just gross. Oh. Ugh. Okay. Making sure the big hammer's off. And I'm hitting that microphone again. I'm going to take this over to the power hammer one more time to work that stem down just a little bit more. Before I try to roll this up. I don't want to have to deal with that later. There we go. All right. All righty. Okay. Okay. Well, the big hammer really pulled. I mean, that was like 3 hits, and it just. And I got plenty of meat on the back end here that I think I can pull out to try to even this up. So we'll try, or at least get it closer. And I'm gonna, here in a few days, probably next week, I'm gonna order a new power supply for my other camera, because I've noticed that camera's been blinking, but when I had it on this power supply, I did not do that. So that tells me that power supply is janky. It's not supplying the correct amount of voltage to the camera. So we'll get it sorted. All right, see if I can pull this out without completely destroying it. Ain't great, but it's better. And really, for this, because it's going to get rolled up, I don't think it's going to be a huge deal. But it bugs me, because it was relatively uniform until I took it to the big hammer. The big hammer, let me tell you, it will help you fuck things up in a hurry. In a hurry. These bottom ends need to get pulled out just a hair. I'm going to come over here and do that. Okay. And this side needs it just, well, could really use a straightening. So let me straighten it. I'm try to add a little texture with that small cross peen, because most of that's gone. I thought that would be a cool feature on the inside a little bit. I don't know. I guess I ought to look at pictures of actual calla lilies. Why would I do that? That's crazy talk. Catch the other side. And kicked up a little bit and knocked my door around. Keep waiting for a coyote to come running through next. let's see. In this shop I have seen many cats come strolling through, a raccoon, and a badger. Okay, and it's actually already kind of bending in the direction I want it to go, so I'm just going to let it do its thing. I don't know. Well, I could use the 60-degree V-swage to get these started, and I don't need to key this in for that, but I'll use the big side. Now I'm going to brush this mostly because it's getting to a point now where once I start folding this up, I won't be able to get in there. Now I have a secret weapon for that. Alrighty. Slow and steady at winning that race. I don't know if I'm winning that race, but definitely moving slow and steady. Slow and steady-er. Meanwhile, so the one thing I've learned, and I don't do a lot of this type of stuff, is rushing this particular step, you can create creases. So you just want to be mindful of that. So I don't think I need this anymore. See how that scale built up right in that, inside this V-swage right here. So when you're forge welding, it's keeping that junk off of your piece while you're working. Be careful with these, by the way. They will heat up quick, especially for forge welding. My friend, so yeah, I don't know necessarily this is where it came from, but it's considered bad etiquette to sit on an anvil in somebody's shop. I suspect it had a lot more to do with safety than anything else, where, you know, it's a good way to get hurt. You know, if you don't know what they've been doing that day, you just go plop down on their anvil. That, I think, is going to require a round swage to get that where I want it. And this side needs to come in more because the other side, being longer, is going to go around it. Wasn't intentional, but it is what it is. So I think I might try this one and see how this works out. So this can accept a key as well. Simple setup on that one. And really, that one probably should be keyed. I feel like I'm gonna have to take this to the power hammer on that back end because I didn't thin it out enough, so it's resisting me. Yeah, small anvils will definitely heat up quicker, but you know, the anvil preheaters out there will tell you, you know, oh, well, that'll let you work longer. So one of the benefits, I suppose, to a bigger anvil is you can do a lot more on them. However, most guys typically won't heat that up. This striking anvil will get hot enough to boil water off after a couple of hammers. But we'll use it all day long. We've done it before, and it's been fine. It does the thing. It definitely does the thing. I think that thing's more an impediment not being keyed in than a help. That end is ugly. We'll see if I can coax it with the power hammer or a bigger hammer. How about that? I'm going to get rid of this because this doesn't really seem to be helping right now. I do need to make a key for it at some point. All right. Oh, the ground is getting further and further away. As you get older, your tong reins start getting longer. At least mine do. Maybe I should start doing some yoga or something. And then we'll get this closer, the bottom looking a little bit better, I hope. That's the goal here, we'll see. A lot better. A lot better. So much happier with that. So yeah, we get all kinds of critters in this shop. So for gas forges, especially longer ones, I learned this from my friend Kurt Fehrenbach. If you don't know who that is, I would highly recommend you look into it. Forge yourself a forge hook. So this allows me to reach in and pull stuff back out. So I can get my tongs on them a little easier, and it can just hang right next to your coal or your gas forge. So I'm just rolling this up a little bit. Now I'm going to do the same thing on this end that I did to the back. Just really just trying to clean it up a little bit. And there's some pucker in here or hollowing. I want that. There's going to be kind of an element in the calla lily part of it. Now, is it straight enough to look good? We'll find out. I'm gonna go grab some tongs for this, some scrolling tongs. Just to kind of start opening this a little bit. Hopefully I didn't, I might have closed it up too much, so that's okay. I will use essentially a punch to open it up on that end. But I felt like that was kind of necessary. Or a drift. How about it? There we go. I got a longer drift. So I'll just get this longer drift and run it in there, provided I can get it started. What I can't right now do, simply because the point is in my way. So I'm going to just kind of move that out of the way. Might as well take some time to clean it up too while I'm here. But I'm going to just give it a little back bend so it's out of the way. So I need something a little pointier to get in there. This will do it. Problem is there's some asshole forged a leaf on the end of it. I don't know who that could have been. I'm talking to management about that. And I'm just going to slowly move this out in hopes that I can Get some scrolling tongs on it or a drift in there to push it open enough to eventually get it onto my horn. There we go. It's a 3/8 drift. Ooh, that's getting warm. That is getting warm. But yeah, that little hook is quite useful. Greg, huh? Yeah, we had a one in here for a while, and it's probably multiple, but oh, I can't remember what we called him. Wasn't George. But yeah, I had a raccoon in here I started calling Rocket. Not because of Guardians of the Galaxy, it's because the day I met him, he shot out of a thing like a rocket. So I was like, I'm gonna name that dude Rocket. And then the Guardians of the Galaxy thing, I remembered that, and I was like, oh, well, it just stuck. Get the strangest text messages sometimes. Okay, let's see if I can coax this guy back out of there without having to struggle, but that's okay. We got plans for you, bub. So that was 3/8. I'm going to try to get this a little bit more open. That's probably hot, so I'm not going to grab it. So I'm hoping I can get one of my hunches in there now. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, baby. Gerald. That's what we called him, Gerald. I had to sing the song in my head to remember it. So there's a Pink Floyd song called Bike. I think it's called Bike. Not Bicycle. I think that's a Queen song. But Pink Floyd had one called Bike. There's a thing about him. He has a mouse that he keeps in his pocket, and he calls it Gerald. So I just started calling that mouse Gerald for some reason. Right on, man. Take it easy. What time is it, anyways? A little past 11. So I'm not far behind, guys. Not far behind. Okay. Now, moving target. Now can I get that on the horn? Almost. But I think I can make it work. If anybody out there sees old Roger Brown again, you just let him know he can come on back and say dumb shit as much as he wants. I like it sometimes. Makes me laugh. If it becomes an issue, I mean, obviously, let's put an end to it. But go. All right, so opening up. I think I'm going to need to straighten out my pointy thing. Oh, it's split right up here. I think I rolled it a little too much. No, I think that'll be fine. Be okay. I'll make an element out of it. But this might be a finish it next time kind of a deal. But we'll see. I'm going to take another pass on it. But I'm gonna have to do that off the screen because the horn I want to use is over here, not in a good spot. We'll see if we can make it work real quick. Yeah, I think I rolled it up a little too tight. That's okay. It's getting there, but it's wanting to split on me. I'll have to learn from that mistake. I think it can still do the thing. I just ain't there yet, and I don't think it's gonna be there yet for a while because I rolled it so tight. I shouldn't have rolled it so tight, I guess, but I did. That crawdad trying to get back in here. So yeah, it's that split at the top is no bueno. Oh well. Oh well. So I'll work on that later. I think there's easily another hour's worth of work in that, if not more, to fix all that. So I'm not going to try to do that tonight. Plus I got to go and pick up some auction loot tomorrow. So I would just say I'm going to call it there, and thanks for hanging out with me, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.